allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll call the village board meeting to order. It's April 1st, 2021. Roll call shows Shauna, Peter, Allie, and Nathan are all excused. Everyone else is here. 3, are there any agenda changes tonight? If not, we'll move to 4, consent agenda. A, March 18th, 2021, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. B, March 18th, 2021, regular board meeting minutes. C, licenses and permits. There are none. D, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. Are there any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call. Dan?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 5, pre-registered citizens to be heard.
None.
Okay. 6, committee reports. A, Planning and Zoning Committee, and we will be discussing this under new business under letter C. We'll move to 7, unfinished business from a previous meeting. There is none. 8, new business. A, Public Service Commission moratorium on utility disconnects.
I'll take that. In your packet is a little report from the utility clerk. I forgot where I'm at. Anyways, on October 29th of last year, the commission, the Public Service Commission that is, issued an additional supplemental order to the order on residential disconnection. Basically, ever since the COVID started, the PSC's been kicking the can down the road until we can begin utility disconnections for delinquent water and sewer bills. So finally, I think April 15th is the date that we can begin shut-offs again. We haven't assessed any penalties since they were stopped by the PSC back in July 15th, or was it April 15th? Yeah, July 15th of last year. Anyways, actually it's March 24th through July 14th, but the village, we didn't assess any penalties while the moratorium was in effect. We plan on assessing penalties and resuming delinquent water and sewer shutoffs beginning April 15th. I mean, we're not going to go out that day, but we're going to start mailing out notices, giving people time to get in here and pay those. For the most part, between March 2020 and March 2019, we only had an increase of 6 letters. Again, it's pretty much the same people in the same houses every year that are delinquent. There's only been a marginal, not even a marginal increase in delinquency. So that's pretty good. So anyway, I'm looking for authorization to resume shutoffs from the board. I mean, the PSC authorized it, but the board is the one who originally, asked us to table it. So I'm coming back to you to get permission to resume utility shutoffs for delinquent accounts beginning April 16th.
Carl, if somebody is making payment arrangements, do they have to have it paid in full?
No.
Or they just have to make some sort of arrangements? Is that something then that you work out with them, or?
Yeah, we've always done that.
Okay.
It can, we're not, granted, we're not gonna take $1, but if they're making a reasonable attempt to make payments, then we allow that. That's always our primary motivation. So, and we've done that since I can recall. So we've always had
Quite
payment
a long
plans.
time.
Yeah.
You can do it with your regular bill every month and make arrangements to pay something each month or however you can. And then Lisa does a deferred payment arrangement sheet. And
Yeah,
then-
the last thing we want to do is actually shut people off.
Correct, yeah. I just
If we can
wanna-
get something
Yeah.
that's better than nothing. So yeah, our goal is not again to shut people's water off, but it's to get them to at least make an attempt to pay.
Any other questions? If not, we'll need a motion.
Motion to approve proceeding with billing delinquencies on water usage and utilities. As of what, April 15th, you said, Carl?
16, yeah.
April 16th?
Including disconnect.
Yeah, the delinquent accounts, or, resumption of water shutoffs for delinquent accounts, beginning April 16th. So, what Dan said, kind of what I said.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. BR-5-21, no mow May.
I'll take this one as well. Last year, there was some discussion at board level about what other towns were doing with no mow May. We got a request from Israel Del Toro. He's a assistant professor of biology with Lawrence University. Anyways, him and his organization are requesting that the village participate in their No Mow May initiative this spring. They're also asking that we suspend our long grass ordinance for the month of May as a formal resolution. That's why you'll see the R5-21. What some communities are doing, I don't know if you've noticed, but you probably won't. I highlighted rear. A lot of the communities are doing just rear yards only. We already have a prairie grass ordinance which allows for bee and other pollinator gardens in your front yard, you know, a considerable amount. So we're already doing something to aid the effort. Other towns have just proposed the exception just for the backyard. That way we still maintain kind of an orderly appearance, but we're still supporting the bees. Like I said, we already have a pollinating ordinance or a prairie grass ordinance, which allows people to build their little prairie grass gardens all over their front yard. So I can strike the rear. I can just make it for the whole yard. I prefer just the rear as the grass or weed commissioner. So, but how do you guys feel about this? I think it's a worthy cause. There was a study done in Appleton. I've got some of it posted here, but approximately 77% of the people responded that they, actually about 60% said they found a few more or a lot more pollinators in their lawns after participating in this program. And of course, pesticides, herbicides, it's always somebody's agenda. But again, this is just, I wouldn't call it a feel-good program because it does achieve results. So is there any interest in the board approving this resolution, or are you comfortable with the rear yards only? I don't know, Julie, what do you think?
I know that we struggled with our front yard last year.
Yeah.
We did the normal May, but I'm telling you, June 1st, my husband couldn't wait to get out there because our front yard was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But the backyard, you know, it is what it is. I get you on the rear because I don't know if we can hold off, being that this is such an early spring this year. I'm not sure we'll be able to hold off till June 1st. We'll certainly try, but if we mow it, we did.
You've got quite a bit of, again, prairie grass and flower gardens and bee, you know, butterfly gardens, so you're already doing your share. So
yeah, it was. We were ready to mow June 1st, and it took a couple of mowings that we.
Like I said, as weed commissioner, I feel more comfortable if we just did the backyards. I think that's a pretty good compromise. We can certainly do it all if that's what you want to do, but
I suppose though, if somebody chooses to do their entire yard, are we sending the weed commissioner out there if they choose to do the front yard too, knowing that they're going to mow on June 1st?
you know, if they stop cutting, it typically takes, well, it takes several weeks to get somebody to cut the yard anyways,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, how
can't
much are
just-
we going to act? Are we going to enforce it, or is it more of this is an initiative, and we're hoping people do this? But then if June 1st comes along and people aren't mowing, then we have an issue. But
You know,
I don't see that anybody saying June 1st. Oh, I mean, it drove us crazy. We needed to mow.
yeah, there's always somebody out there that abuses the system, and they'll just use it as an excuse, but I think, again, we're missing the big picture, and that's the pollinators.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we can't just, people think the government can come in and just do whatever they want.
No.
We have to go through a process of, we have to mail out a notice, and then we have have to mail out a certified letter. It's not just showing up on the door and yelling at
Yeah,
people
I
in the
don't-
yard,
I
so,
really don't think it's a big deal.
to do the whole thing.
I really don't. I mean, I don't
I,
think,
I think it'll be confusing, don't you, Julie?
if we say rear versus,
If you're gonna just let them, how are we gonna get that out that we're just letting the rear out?
I just think that, yeah, it adds a level of confusion, and I just know
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
think
we
That's
were
fine.
tempted just to mow the
let
yard.
them do
in
the whole
front. Yeah,
yard.
yeah.
We
I
can, we
mean-
can still do the resolution and strike rear out of it. I guess if that's okay with,
Yeah, I would agree with the confusion. And I think it would be the enforceable thing. I think the whole resolution sends a good message.
yeah, I think we'll
it's
put that
really-
on the website and Facebook. And I think I'd like to share this, survey from it's a organization that works with the city of Appleton. And there's a lot of graphs and charts and
Mhm.
reasons why you should do this, so I think we should share that as well. We'll strike rear and just go on like that.
I think so.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. For the most part, people are gonna be itching to mow their yards June 1st versus let it be.
So then we would need a motion with the correction.
I'll make a motion to approve R-5-21 no mow May resolution.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Hang on, no,
With striking the rear,
we need to strike the rear.
strike the rear on the jump,
Yeah.
your motion?
Okay, we'll stick the rear.
Should we reference our ordinance, exemption to our ordinance?
You can.
It's in the fourth line from the
I
bottom.
don't get the record.
Yeah. We're gonna add to what Dan and Jim said would be, an exemption of, enforcement for, section 26, grass and noxious weed control. Again, it's, or should I say an exception, I got exempt here, but it's an exception of our ordinance.
Yeah, or waiver or whatever.
Yeah, we do that for other stuff like handicap parking and things like that, so, yeah. What Dan said plus, exception or an ordinance, section 26, grass and noxious weed control.
Okay, I'll make a motion with Carl said.
And I'll second what Carl and Jim said.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Here we go to C, SCP Building Permit Industrial Park.
I'll take that one as well. Let me find the map. I'm bad about not sharing maps. I assumed everybody, because I know where it's at, I assume everybody else is too. But this was our last 5-acre lot out in the industrial park. We've been sitting on it for about 21 years now. It's 5-acre parcel. It's immediately adjacent to our stormwater ponds, our regional stormwater pond. Not a great picture here, but again, SCP, or Vandalay Properties, is better known as Skids, Crates, and Pallets. They have a property up here by Main Street. This would be SCP site number 2. It's a secondary production facility where they process pallets. So let me go to the blueprints here. They're proposed building a new building, approximately 100 by 200, with facilities, restrooms, break rooms, production areas, concrete apron here for storage of shredded pallets, a parking lot. That one's kind of hard, Jim. You know, we need to, do they make better projectors, Jim? This one's hard to read.
Oh, of course, but yeah, they just
There's going to be an outbuilding here. This is a gravel parking area for trailers. They're going to have one entrance for trucks and employees, which is fine. They are immediately adjacent to a future road here that would, if I go back to this other map here, the village owns this piece of property right here. It's roughly 70 feet wide. In case there's ever development over here, we had thought about possibly, I think our comprehensive plan calls for industrial here. So if we ever need to tie that together, we can. Let's go back to the plans. Water and sewer run out to the street right there. All the building setbacks are okay, meet the covenants. The building design meets the covenants. The building inspectors looked at some of the features that we're required to do today. Of course, the building inspector is gonna do the fine tune, the interior inspections and all that stuff. And what we're looking to do is approve them to construct this building. Now, we'll still need to receive their state permits, and Paul will still need to inspect it as you normally would a building. But for today, we're just looking for approval for the design and layout.
I have one question, not pertaining to like the building here. Can we access those areas to mow them yet, Carl, those wetlands?
Yeah, in fact, I had a county, we have a,
Is there easement in there somewhere?
yeah,
to do it?
it's right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can drive in there.
I can see it on the
Yeah.
map, so. Okay,
I
very
actually
good.
had the county go out last fall, just before the snow fell, and they completely knocked down this entire area for me. Area. So.
Any other
I think-
questions?
What Dan was asking was right here, yeah. Plus we can get over there from the fire hall if we actually need to.
Okay.
Yeah, again, this is SCP plant number 2.
So that wetlands area is not developable.
No, we had to construct that to handle the runoff from not only our industrial park,
Okay.
but it also handles a little bit of the north side of this road, back up to these parcels here.
Hmm.
All this runoff from Thompson Metals and over here runs into there. Part of Wild Wind subdivision runs into there as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's pretty maxed out now.
And then we maintain it?
Yeah,
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't leaving any gaps between what
No.
what was left and what they were doing. Okay.
If no other questions, we will need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the SCP plant number 2 building permit.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. D is employment overlap for accounts payable.
I think both me and Jane will take this. What Nathan wanted me to ask you was, we'd like a week of overlap to hire the new person on who's gonna take over payroll and have them on board for a week for Libby's last week. Now, we know that that's not gonna be enough time to learn the job. Jeannie did it for 20 years. It's gonna take a long time to learn it, but a week's better than nothing. And we certainly have it in payroll, given the fact that between when Nathan's former position and, and what it's being paid now, and what we had budgeted for the administrator versus what it's getting paid now, there's more than enough to cover this 1 week rollover plus the 4 weeks in September if you want to double up for me. So again, we're just looking for 1 week. I think that's the timeline, right, Jane?
Yes.
It would be hard pressed to get somebody in here that any earlier than that. I mean, if we could, it would be nice to have 2 weeks.
Right.
So time to work, for the new person to work with Libby, am I
Yes.
hearing you
Yeah.
correctly? Oh, yes.
If we could get 2 weeks, it would be better. I know Nathan's being conservative and asking
Yeah.
for 1.
Yeah,
I don't know if we'll be able to get 2 weeks, but maybe if the right person comes along.
What would be most, I mean, obviously, more than a week would be nice, but
2 weeks would be ideal,
Mm.
but that depends who applies.
who applies and their time frame and everything else
Right.
too.
Right.
I think if we could get 1 week with up to 2 weeks as a
Yeah,
depending on experience
judgment
level.
call, yeah,
Yeah.
depending on availability.
Then I'll make a motion to have a week of overlap with the new position being filled and an additional week at the administrator's prerogative.
I'll second that, or,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Can I ask you a quick question? It doesn't change the board at all. Do you have Libby document like the procedures that she goes through on a regular basis?
Yes,
Okay.
that was one thing I asked her a couple months ago, when she was still working remotely,
Okay,
to document what she does.
all right. I do that with my employees, and
Yep.
like I go through as in management, I say, okay, well, you do this, you do this, you do this, and give them one page for each one and have them write down some notes. It helps with the transition.
I have Lauren working on for her position also, because there's nothing really anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, all the procedures, so.
Yeah.
Libby's working on that, and both Lauren and I are working with Libby to try to get as much out of her as we can.
Okay.
Lauren's working on payroll, so we're, yeah.
I find that the more that you document, the easier that transition when you have the overlap goes, because then you stay structured on, okay, did we cover this, did we cover
Right,
this, did we
right,
cover
so
this?
we don't miss anything, and,
Yep.
yes.
Yep, I just wanted to throw the comment in.
We actually did that for the utility clerk as well, Lisa, so. I'm forbid that never happens, but it's a crazy world.
And there's that additional cross-training, I imagine, in office also,
Yes.
because we've talked about that in the past and also, so I know there was a regiment there.
Who's
Okay,
second
we'll
that?
move to,
Or both Jim and I, but you, let Jim.
Okay, okay, thank you.
we'll move to E, discussion of exploring a transportation utility.
I'll just briefly touch on that. We weren't looking to create one, but Nathan just wanted to point out that some of the communities are going this way, and that they're looking at it as an alternative to assessments. As you know, there's been a lot of discussion over in the Grand Chute area concerning assessments, the way they do it. Right now, the Village of Hortonville, the way our ordinance is set up, I think it's pretty fair for assessments. 20% residential, 100% commercial. Typically, our residents don't see the large bills that you would see in other communities, the $100,000 assessments. I don't know how they, but Nathan just wanted you to know if it got to the point where assessments became such a hot topic, that you could take your road work off your tax roll and put it under like a charge, like a sewer charge or not sewer charge,
Right. Yeah.
garbage.
Right, the roads would constitute a utility that you could charge separately for. And I noticed in the Press Star, there's been an ongoing discussion of that in Clintonville. Clintonville is a little different problem, though. They're just revenue short, period. And so they're looking for different ways to support their projects. They haven't approved it yet, but it's getting a really serious look up there.
Is this, in other communities, is this something that goes out to bill to everyone?
Yeah, what happens is you would have, let's say you have $50,000, like we put in Fund 100 for general road treatments and maintenance, another $50,000 for projects, and then another, let's say $100,000 for a street that we would assess for. So we need to generate $200,000. So you would just spread that out evenly amongst, schools, churches,
But
hospitals.
I thought, I don't know all the particulars, and I would note that Elders and Associates are helping Clintonville in that regard. But I thought it was based on use. I'm not sure how
I
they
think you
measure
can
that,
do it.
because let's say like Jim here, you have multiple vehicles, you're using the roads more than somebody else. I think they have varying utility charges, is my understanding.
Yeah, so I know they do this in Neenah because my business falls under it, and it's unfortunately it's somewhat popular with the residents because it gets pushed off to the businesses, which everybody thinks the business owner is rich, right? They got a lot of money, but like they instituted this at my business, and they did it in the utility bill. So they added it, and they sent a nice letter explaining what it was, but it's to offset. It's to offset anyway. But like my water bill, I use $9 worth of water in, all I have is a bathroom in my shop, and I use $9 worth of water, and my utility bill shot from $12, because there's always the extra little costs, to $160 a month, and none of it is water. Between water and sewer, I only use $9, and my utility bill went to $160.
So they do
And-
one billing, excuse me?
One billing, yeah, every billing.
But I mean, they lump them together?
Water and sewer?
No, I thought you were saying that the transportation utility, that's separate yet?
No, so they did this type of a tax, but they added that same fee to the utility bill.
I see.
And they just said, this is where it's gonna come from because you have a business that has this much space, we're gonna charge you this much. Yeah, it made a lot of business owners really, really unhappy, because they just decided, you know, from the perspective of the person paying it, myself, I looked at it like, Nina wasn't doing a very good job managing their budget. If they couldn't figure out how to pay this. And I understand special assessments, I really understand special assessments. But, you know, adding a continuous bill to someone, unless you can really justify it, I think looks bad on the part of, because you're billing everybody all the time for something that may never happen to them. And then you end up with situations like where, you know, like my neighborhood where there was recently a special assessment. Now if all of a sudden they throw this bill on, then everybody in my neighborhood is gonna say, well, we just paid a special assessment, now you're gonna bill so that I can pay for everybody else's stuff to get fixed, so they don't have to pay for a special assessment, so it does tend to be unpopular.
But now, my understanding of if you use the transportation utility, that the revenues generated have to be used for transportation.
How is this
You
any
can't
different than a
cross-
wheel tax? Because
Yeah.
wasn't the wheel tax the money that is coming
It's a
from your
refined wheel
registration?
tax.
That's what it is. Well, the wheel tax is just saying, we're gonna tax $20 a vehicle, or
Yeah.
whatever number you wanna put out there. But this one should be more refined, like Carl says, it's based on, number of vehicles or your type of use, residential, commercial, industrial, that type of thing. So they try to get the ones using it should be based on how much you use the road and how much you're responsible, I guess, for renewing the roads,
So
right?
if I have 5 vehicles, but one of them has collector plates, so, I mean, and then I look at that, and,
I don't think they differentiate between motorcycles, collectors,
Yeah.
any of that stuff.
No, I think if you're residential, I think it's they figure you have normal amount of residential traffic. I don't think they get that refined. But if you're at all interested, I would suggest, again, reaching out to Ellers on that issue. I don't think it takes a lot to get a real quick overview of
just
that.
an idea of what it would be,
Yeah.
so we can at least,
Again, it's one for one.
Right.
We would still be paying pretty much the same income tax season or throughout the year. Like I said, Hortonville, and Nathan just wanted you to be aware of what's the new trend out there. Frankly, I kind of like what we have right now. I think our ordinance is pretty fair. You know, aside from the quirks for the
Yeah.
unusual, our general assessment's pretty fair. And, you know, even Grandview here, they didn't pay that much. And if we had, you know, if we were like Grand Chute, they would have had monster bills. So again, nothing against Grand Chute, but theirs could have easily been 25 grand a piece out there.
But they developed that ordinance way back in
Yeah.
prior to 94, and I know as contractors, when they went in to rebuild those streets, you know, they took the brunt of some of the residents there, you know, to get it done and everything, so, but it's something that should be looked at, because I like the way the village has it right now. It kind of is, some of it goes to the property owners, as it should, the adjacent property owners, but some of it is, it's just the use of the entire village.
Yeah.
So it seemed, to me, this was always a very fair policy.
Yeah. The only people, see right now, the only people that are kind of, I would say, getting away with something would be like churches and schools, except for when you do a direct assessment. Now, if we had a wheel tax, I think Diane had proposed that, 3 years ago, maybe? That's probably a fair way to go if you want to generate some money, but that way you know what you're generating. Whereas with this plan, you almost have to budget those funds and precisely know where you're going to spend them. And the thing with assessments is you really don't know what it is until you have what it is.
You know, New London has the wheel tax, and their board gets a lot of complaints because people are saying you're not using it how you should be using it, and they're upset, and that's kind of why we did what we did, and we just said, we may look at this someday, but we kind of said, no, this isn't a good idea, because, you know.
This is a real hot topic at state level too, because the municipalities, the townships, the villages, the cities, don't really get reimbursed, for what the costs have gone up. over the years, but those amounts have stayed the same, so the state's always looking at wheel taxes, at raising the gas tax, wheel taxes because vehicles are getting better mileage, so there's a lot of proposals at the state level also.
Yeah, I don't think we need to immediately react or do anything. Like I said, we've lowered taxes for it in the last 5 years, and 1 year it only went up $8. So I think we're on the right track, and I don't think we're hurting enough that we have to rush out and do something. We can wait and see how it works for other communities.
Do we have any projects in the foreseeable or the longer term future that might end up in a larger assessment? I mean, other than,
the Main Street, the post bypass.
that's kind of what I was, thinking.
Our other bad roads have bad utilities.
Okay,
So, and we're gonna chip away at them every year, and typically in the past, we haven't assessed for utility work. Again, we have high enough rates, probably the highest in the valley, and last thing we wanna do is, after sending them a big water bill, say, hey, we're gonna charge you for putting new water main in.
yeah, exactly.
So, one option we do have is, maybe we can go back and start getting 20% of the asphalt costs on these water and sewer projects. That would be fair. I mean, we haven't done it lately. I believe we did in the past. We stopped. Don't blame me, but we haven't done it lately, and that's an option if we want to generate 20, 30 grand a year. It's not going to make or break the village. Like I said, we're in pretty good shape out here, as long as we don't do anything crazy, because we're still on schedule to keep dropping taxes. I just don't know if now's the time to. Because if it's 1 for 1, if you got to take it off of here but put it over here,
Yeah.
who's that really benefit?
Yeah. Are we looking at a large assessment for downtown for the businesses?
We're not looking at any of this.
We're not looking at it. I didn't think we were.
Yeah.
I mean, I just
And
concerned
we
because
don't
businesses
know
do 100%, so.
How much the county's
Yeah.
gonna pay?
Yeah.
Are they gonna help us with storm sewer? Are they gonna help us with curb and gutter? I'm sure they
Okay.
are, but we don't know any of that yet.
But
Some
most of the
numbers-
improvements are coming from the money that we,
Yeah,
when they're
we
working on it.
saved money, we'll have TID money, we'll have utility money that, we've been putting away money in the utility to help with the expenses that year. But if we can use TID money instead of utility money, that's always better.
okay.
But we may have to, Peter's not gonna like this, but we may have to slow Alonzo down a little bit because the highway's starting up this year. We may have to start pinching pennies and getting ready for this project, the Main Street. Alonzo, we may only be able to do like a big pavilion, which would be nice, just a big nice pavilion, and save everything else for later. Maybe we need to scale back the streetlights. I was talking to Jeannie today. We were running streetlights pretty much from S.E. Swiderski all the way through to Gilbert's. Maybe we need to scale that back. Do we need streetlights from the Mill Street or from the Blackheart Creek Bridge by Miller Park back down to S.E. Swiderski? I think we could save $250,000 by not doing that. Do we really need that? Should we just focus on downtown and then put some nice streetlights down by our next commercial area, which is Quick Trip and Gilbert's, maybe a few through there, and then come back later and fill in if we got money.
Sounds like we got a lot of options that we don't necessarily need to go
Yeah.
to the
And I
the
know
tax right away.
Julie was giving me a hard time about the curb, but I think we can make that work, the curb downtown. We can allow the county to pave asphalt through there. I had price up concrete for the entire downtown. We can let the 24-foot of asphalt strip all the way through there, have a flat curb with for catching the water and catch basins, bring the stormwater down the Mill Street and down and stay away from them old buildings where we have the easement. I don't think we even want to touch that ground through there. We can save some money that way. There's a lot of ways we can reduce that $600,000 downtown to probably 400. When the 700 on the east side, we could probably get that down to 500. Just little things like that. So, if you can do that, then we could probably at least get that and some of Alonzo done. I just don't think we can get everything we propose plus Alonzo done, it's just not gonna happen.
And this is post bypass,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've got a few years, I mean, you're planning, but we've got a few years to kind of,
Well, we'll probably be planning this summer with whoever the county hires as their engineer for this project. We're gonna have to be on board, and we may have to start pointing up engineering fees this year yet, you know, depending on what we want.
We're gonna have to have skin in the game, because a lot of the things that, when the county goes out for the RFP for design, we wanna be
part of
in
it.
there that we want the crosswalks in, we wanna know where the crosswalk should be located for the trail, for, Miller Park,
Mhm.
some of the lighting systems, making sure our facilities are all up to snuff, and,
We might actually use their engineer to design downtown.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that'd be the best scenario, then you're not having two engineering firms going back and forth to get what we want, so
Yeah.
I think you keep it a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
So
for
then
dealing
you,
with, and it give us a lot more say in the development of the plan.
And Dan said we're gonna have to pick up some of these costs. Granted, we're hoping they do the lion's share of the roadway and that, but, you know, if we want, like Dan said, crosswalks, engineering, you know, if we want a wider turn lane, we're gonna have to pay for the additional materials and quantities, I guess. For every intersection we want to be modernized. And if we want to modernize in front of Gilbert, that's gonna be 100% on us, so.
so that would really be our biggest project, you
Yeah.
know, right now.
I think we should
So
keep our
we
biggest
can-
project,
Yeah,
not just downtown, but we can scale back downtown and still make it look just as pretty. Except cars will now, they'll pull onto concrete for parking and have a curb there. 'Cause we don't want to hit anyway.
I know you're chuckling, but I saw somebody pull up to park,
Yeah.
and this is for you, because I'd never seen this before when you brought this up. I saw somebody pull up to park last week, and they pulled 3 feet onto the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Yeah, she sees
And
it.
then, so they
she's
pulled
right
their
there.
car, their truck all the way
They
up
do.
onto the side, and I was on the sidewalk, and
Yeah.
they pulled all the way 3 feet onto the sidewalk,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then drove off to get back onto the road to get into the parking spot. And it wasn't like they needed
no
to.
joke.
There was plenty
This
of
is-
room.
This is what
I
happens,
was like,
right?
I was thinking about that you had said that, and I'm
We
going,
can
I
make
never
it-
seen anybody drive
Yeah,
over
we
a
can
curb.
make it
I'm
look
like,
just as
okay.
nice as those photographs and still keep the curb, as long as we address the stormwater and shoot it down to Mill Street and south.
Well, especially if you have people sitting like at a bistro table. I feel much more comfortable sitting
Yeah.
at a bistro table if there was a curb.
I guess I
That was
would.
kind of what went through my mind when we were talking about having the no curb.
Yeah.
And then I saw this guy drive his truck 3 feet up onto the sidewalk, and I'm like, you know, if there was no curb there, there's no real reason for him to not drive all the way up there and just park it, you know, just pull back up and get into the parking spot with
They
one
drive on
smooth
the curb
motion.
in front of my house
Yeah.
to get around people.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, we're getting off topic.
Yeah,
We're off topic.
We're off topic,
There's
I'm
a
sorry.
lot of decisions.
definitely off
But
topic.
I just wanted to ask Bob, you said if we wanted to learn more about the transportation utility, what should we read at? Or did you?
Well, I just made a note too. Let me, I'll obtain some materials on that and then I'll circulate them. How's
Okay,
that?
thank you.
I think that'd be won't cost us anything. And then just for an overview, because I don't think there's any desire to look at it closely at this time, but just what's on the radar, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's all Nathan wanted it on here for, was just to give us an update on
Yeah.
what
It's
this
kind
is about.
of nice to learn what it is though, you know,
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, I think they
So,
are,
you know.
they're also increasing transportation aid next year, right? Jane, didn't Nathan say something about that?
Yep.
Granted, they're not doubling it, but at least it's going back up again. I know under Walker it kind of went down a little bit, but,
Yeah,
so, that'll help some.
are there any questions on this then? Okay, then we'll go to F, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion?
Yes. So we had gotten that PAA report, and there were some recommendations in there. And I was reviewing through that in the last few days, and I would like a chance for the board to have some open discussion on a couple of the recommendations. So if we could put that on a future agenda, that would be great.
One thing that we were supposed to have on this agenda was the court, so we should probably put it on the next
Yeah,
one.
that's a good idea too.
And then the Opera House lease, Nathan said he, thought the church was taking it to their board.
Hmm.
So they hadn't done that yet,
Okay.
so he didn't put it on this one either. So we'll probably put that on the next one. And then the review, he was supposed to work up some review sheets, and then we were going to look at them and approve it, and then schedule in Nathan's review. So that should go on the next board meeting. And then, when Carl and I were discussing some of the things on the agenda today, knowing Nathan was gone, we said, you know, most board members do not have any idea what happens in each department. We kind of came up with, what if we would do a cow and do a tour of each department, and they would just do like Jane would do the office, Carl would do the plant, Chris would do the PD, Ally would do the library, and we would do a tour, and they could explain
Good idea.
how many board members know what goes on in this building. They
If you do-
don't.
Yeah, if you do
I
schedule
worked here,
that, yeah.
but anyone else, you know, and I just think there's so many interesting things in this building. So we may maybe do a call on that,
Yeah.
if that's all
The
right.
the
with
I know
water
what you-
treatment plant, I toured that personally, and that was like, I was there a good solid hour and a half, 2 hours. So maybe if it could be over a couple different cows, because,
Yeah,
Yeah, we'd have to have one cow. I wouldn't have a bunch of back-to-back meetings, but
yeah,
maybe 1 month, maybe April, we'll go down to the wastewater plant.
yeah,
May, we'll do the PD.
yeah.
Uh,
I think we'll discuss it with Nathan further, and then maybe schedule something in if everybody's on board. I think that would be great. So that's all I have.
Might want to consider, if you're going to add that to Nathan, to have to do, consider the public, because there may be, because they're open meetings, so if there's a cow, then the public can,
Yeah.
they can say, but maybe get a sign up or something, have Nathan set up a sign up for, because it's a limited amount of space to go through, and have a sign up for people that want to participate. I don't expect there to be a lot, but
Yeah.
you still have to
You know,
accommodate.
if we're having a cow, it's almost nicer to just have it down there.
Yeah.
That way we're not driving back and forth. We used to
Yeah.
have public works meetings down
Yeah.
there and,
Yeah.
facilities.
So
Yeah, but I meant the
I just
office is
think
limited
Yeah, I mean-
space, and the PD as well.
as
and-
long
Yeah.
as it's accessible,
it may
and
be-
that's what I worry about, is accessibility.
Maybe some preparation
But let's
if we're
not
bringing
discuss it.
general
I-
public in.
We'll
Yeah.
just
I'm just saying,
more or
he
less
needs to take into
Yeah.
account that.
Yeah,
The
we'll
public-
open house. if
open
we're-
and
talk
open house type
to
of a public
Nathan on
situation.
it, and we'll work something out.
Yep.
I think that would be a really nice thing to do, so. Does anyone else have any other topics? Okay, then we move to 9, report of village officials. Clerk treasurer.
Open book was just scheduled today, because it's the full reval. That's gonna be on May 20th. And then board of review will be on June 8th. And we do need to redo our training, but that depends on the president. And myself will take that training. Municipal Clerks Association hasn't finalized their board of review training. So I'm kinda waiting for that. And we received the second half of the 2020 Outagamie County sales tax distribution for 2020. And the amount was $26,746. So that extra 5% that they added on, that was Hortonville's share.
0.5%.
0.5%.
Yes, 0.5%. And the new date for the appointment of the newly elected trustees and village president is Tuesday, April 20th, with their first board meeting would be Thursday, May 6th. Unless there's a board meeting, special board meeting in between that, but that's when their term would start.
Any questions for Jane? Okay, then we'll move to director of public works.
Just a couple. Public Works, permanent part-time position, has been filled. The individual starts, Monday, April 5th. Nice guy. Just recently retired, checks every box we were looking for this position. The Opera House, just a little note, went over there, took a lot of photos. We're kind of putting everything together for an addendum for the possible long-term rental permit. Tree City USA, we were awarded Tree City USA again from the Arbor Day Foundation. We should be proud to live in a place that makes planting and care of trees a priority. And alternative Arbor Day celebration. Again, with COVID and social distancing still being practiced, we're probably just going to have a small ceremony out here planting some trees around the perimeter of a new property over here. We don't think they would interfere with any, if we built a parking lot in there or put a senior center there or anything. If we just had a row of pines around the perimeter, we think they'd be safe from future development. So, again, that's probably gonna be the extent of Arbor Day this year. That's all I have.
Any questions for Carl?
I got one more. Part of the Arbor Day thing is I want to talk to Ally when she gets back about possibly having a coloring contest. It can be remote. They can download the pictures and color them at home. Maybe we'll post them in the hallway or something.
Carl, do you need to do anything with urban forestry on this, or because of COVID, we're just not doing?
No, we're just gonna, just like last year, just a small little ceremony, just enough to meet the minimum requirements.
That's what I was wondering, if you had to have an urban forestry meeting to meet that, or?
Not really.
Okay.
It's more so the ceremony is the priority,
Okay.
or the kicker.
Do you have any idea when you would do that?
Hopefully when it's warmer. When's your Lake District cleanup this year?
May 1st.
May 1st. There's always a chance of it being cold through the end of May, so
Yeah.
sometime in May we'll probably have plantings out here. It'll probably be on a weekday because I don't want to pay overtime for it, because it's again, a subdued ceremony. So I'll have to schedule that. Maybe we can do that as part of the committee, pick a date, so, and we can do that remotely.
Remotely, or it's
All right.
such a brief, yeah.
All right. I'll
Be
do
nice
it.
to promote some kind of community-wide cleanup, and I don't know how to go about doing that. We're trying to do that along with the lake, just say, if you don't wanna work on the lake, go pick up litter, you know. But I'm just wondering if we could somehow pair some things together, Earth Day, spring type thing, but
All right.
and
We'll bat
maybe
some
that's for 2022, that we
Yeah.
need to look at that.
We'll bat some ideas around. I think Julie's
Okay.
right. We can at least, worst case scenario, do it remotely, or we can just get together like we are.
Okay.
So speaking of trees, the pines on Brookwood, the ones that like died a year ago were wolf grass, but they
Yeah.
never really came in and replaced them, or
We replaced a few of
they
them,
they replaced a few?
but yeah,
Are they done replacing? And we're-
probably.
we're-
That's such
we're-
poor soil over there. It's all
Mhm.
sand.
Yeah,
I might talk to them. We do a lot of business with them, and they do a lot of donations to the village. Maybe I can get 10 or so replaced.
okay.
I'd rather do it in the spring, I think.
Yeah,
When we
yeah,
planted
that's why I
them,
figured that's why they didn't,
Yeah.
like the fall there.
the falls, especially in the sand, it's a terrible time to transplant.
Is there a better option for that area? I mean,
Our goal was, again, permanent blockage,
yeah, I understand, yeah.
but, yeah, we can try, I think maybe we should try something else. I'll talk to you later about it.
Okay, okay.
Carl,
Maybe
did you
some,
mention-
that Wolf Raps would make a suggestion, what the
Yeah.
best third
Some
expert.
kind of deciduous tree, and that works good in sand and sand. So,
Yeah.
clay underneath the sand, it's not the best.
Carl, did you mention what Wolf River is doing? Where they are donating trees?
Yeah, I haven't heard from them since I sent them that suggestion. I assume
Okay.
they're still doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and up to 250. I don't know where they are on it, but anybody that switches to electronic statement, I know, is that.
Yeah, they were
They
gonna do
donate
it.
a tree,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is really nice. I mean,
It's a
they're
good
doing it
program.
in all the communities that they have a bank in, and so they, are giving back to the community that way, and we will never turn down a tree.
Actually, that'd be
So-
another good topic for urban forestry.
Yeah. Any other questions for Carl?
I forgot about that, so.
Okay, we'll go to police chief.
I sent out or I handed out the monthly report. And if nobody's got any questions on that, just want to inform everybody an update on the radio siren deal that we're going through. Last week, Friday, Rob Olson from Emergency Management came in and replaced the Motorola radio within the box. I know that we had talked about having it tuned They think that maybe they're just replacing the radio, might, and they had a couple of them that were left over. We weren't able to find out this week if it's polling correctly, because they've been doing vaccinations in Appleton, so emergency management is doing that. So hopefully next week we can find out if it's polling correctly. On Saturday we resume the 12 o'clock siren test, so I'll just make sure that the officers are listening for that, whoever's working that day. Our new squad is on the road. You'll notice a change in color, it's gray. Just a really pretty color gray. We got a lot of compliments on it already. We've had people just stopping into the police departments and saying, I really like the color, so which is cool. And then another cool thing that we have is we have the Easter Bunny event, and that's going to be on Sunday from 1 until 4. We're going to be out in the community, and then from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, we're going to be in the hallway here taking pictures with the Easter Bunny. So we tried getting somebody from the fire department because it's Easter. We can't find a fire truck, so one of our guys is going to come in and kind of lead us around. And if you go to the Facebook, to the Hortonville Police Department Facebook app, or Facebook page, whatever, you're going to find it. Basically what we did was they asked if we could have a tracker. So we found an app, so I put it on my phone, and we tested it. It works really, really nice. I can turn it off. Right now it's sitting at Otter Creek, the Easter Bunny's getting its fill on hops.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I shared it on my Facebook page too.
Yeah, I think it'll be
I
fun.
do
We got
too.
some candy that we can hand out too. And
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions for Chris? If not, library director is excused.
Can I just put a plug in
Oh,
for the library? It's Friends of the Library, but we set up a book sale out in the hallway. Carl was great helping us out with that. It's just one table and the spinner for now. And then if anybody finds any books they would like to purchase, you just make a donation in the library like we did before. And we're just gonna keep it going for a while, see how it goes. But it looks, I just refilled it today, so the books are going, which is a good sign.
That's good.
Yeah,
Good.
thank you.
Okay. Then we'll move to F, attorney.
I have nothing, unless there's
Okay.
any questions.
G, administrator. Is there anything Nathan had?
No, it's just that the American Rescue Plan is a little more complicated than they make it out to be. I think he's still researching it.
Okay. And then H is building permit report, which is in the packet. Then we'll go to 10, communications and miscellaneous business. Black Otter Lake District news.
We haven't had a meeting. Lake cleanup is May 1st. If you want to register, you can go to the Fox Wolf Water Alliance website, and then you get a free t-shirt. We're meeting down at Alonzo Park at 9 o'clock on Saturday, May 1st. People can also go out in their kayaks or canoes to do the cleanup.
Any questions for Pat?
Can I make a recommendation?
Pardon me?
Can I make a recommendation?
Mm-hmm.
Probably reach out with electronically or something to the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts that are local area.
Yeah, you
And
know,
see if they get some.
I need to check first, since we're working with the Alliance. They asked us to give a number, and so we said 20 or 30 people. So we're asking for pre-registration, so we have a number of how many are coming. We thought if we outreach, we might suggest, okay, do you want to clean up the park? Are you okay with that, if they aren't actually doing the lake?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, some of the scout requirements, because I've been through both.
Right.
Some of the scout requirements are, community involvement and things
Right.
like that. So, I don't know which of the boys or girls would.
Who would
be
I
involved.
go through for that?
I can send you.
Okay,
I'll send you the Scoutmasters,
I used
the
to
two different Scoutmasters.
Girl Scouts too, and we wanted to involve them. I'm just trying to balance it with the partnering with the.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
make a note, I'll send you their contact.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move to B, Hortonville Hortonia Fire District News.
No, the next meeting is the same day as the police meeting, April 14th, I think.
Mhm. C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and News, there is none. D, Hortonville Civic Association, Peter is absent. And then E, Senior Activities Committee.
We met this afternoon, our committee, I think we just had a couple people that weren't able to make it. We discussed the Helping Hands of Hortonville, which is our transportation program. Some of the difficulties that have come up lately with that, for Lauren especially, are getting drivers to commit to taking rides soon enough. So it's kind of causing a little bit of a logjam for her, so we've been trying to troubleshoot that. The committee thought it might be a good idea just to put a flyer out there saying, we're looking for more volunteers. And what we decided was that I would bring it to this board just to get your permission, if we could have a flyer to be handed out at elections, but also posted online or whatever, not only for volunteers for Helping Hands, but maybe also say, these are ways you can volunteer in your community. You know, lake cleanup, be at a committee, you know, come to the parks meeting, that kind of thing. So if it's okay with you, I will draft some type of flyer to have ready for the Tuesday election for handout. Just wanted to run it past the board to see if that was okay.
Jane, are there any restrictions on what you can do for, at the elections you can hand out? Okay.
There's a table, we can put that on the table.
Yeah, Jane was at the meeting today,
Oh,
so
okay.
she was actually the one that suggested it.
Oh,
So,
that's good.
and we thought maybe it would be a way to promote just volunteerism in general, but target a few areas. And then we are going to be getting together, our next meeting is May 20th at 1 o'clock. We're going to look at events, hoping that we can gather by the end of the summer. Maybe plan a picnic for August, looking at our Autumn Fest that we've had other years for the fall. Our seniors especially are feeling very isolated and wanting to get back in a group, but we want to be smart about it. So that was our meeting.
Any questions for Pat? We'll go to 11, comments and suggestions from citizens present. Please state your name for Jane.
Oh, Holly. Actually, two things. First was that transportation fund, and I understand where Jim's coming from, because somebody that just got assessed is not gonna wanna get hit with another one. But with sitting in assessment meetings, I've also heard from audience people that said, why am I being assessed and not the whole village? So what I would suggest is that for future boards, if this is brought up again, that they also discuss the possibility of a referendum on that. Hear what everybody else wants to say about it. The other comment was on Pat with the cleanup. Last time Mark Boyd did it, we had nobody to go out on the lake. We had high winds and didn't want anybody out there anyhow. So Mark just walked the shoreline of Blackwater Park and Alonzo Park and came up with 2 bags of garbage.
Good point.
So that
Yep.
if somebody doesn't want to go out, that is an option.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying, Al, because I should have said we're doing shoreline and on the water, but good point. So, you know, there's a lot of area to cover for Boy Scouts or whoever. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay, then I need number 12, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned.